When Love Becomes Impossible to Hide, The Unspoken Truth Between Alden Richards and Maine Mendoza. In the ever-evolving world of showbiz, where image is everything and emotions are often filtered through the lens of public perception, there are rare moments when something real breaks through. For years, fans have speculated, analyzed, and passionately debated the connection between Alden Richards and Maine Mendoza. What started as an on-screen partnership quickly transformed into something that many believe goes far beyond scripted lines and fleeting performances. Now whispers are growing louder. Alden's feelings may no longer be something he can keep hidden. A love story that began by chance. Their journey began in the most unexpected way, through a split-screen segment that would later become a cultural phenomenon. The chemistry was undeniable. It wasn't forced, it wasn't exaggerated, it felt natural, almost effortless. Fans quickly became invested, turning their pairing into one of the most beloved love teams in Philippine entertainment history. But while their story blossomed in front of millions, the question lingered. Was it all just for the cameras? The subtle signs fans can't ignore. Over time, attentive fans began to notice the little things. The lingering glances, the protective gestures, the way Alden would light up whenever Maine was around. Even in interviews, his words often carried a certain depth when he spoke about her. It wasn't just admiration, it felt personal. There were moments when his emotions seemed to slip past his carefully maintained composure. A pause before answering questions about her. A soft smile when her name was mentioned. These aren't things that can be easily scripted. For someone known to be reserved and disciplined, these subtle cracks spoke volumes. When silence speaks louder than words. What makes this story even more compelling is what remains unsaid. Alden has never made bold declarations, never crossed lines that would disrupt the lives they've built outside their on-screen partnership. Yet, sometimes silence can be more powerful than any confession. In a world where celebrities often overshare, his restraint feels intentional and perhaps deeply emotional. Many believe that his feelings have reached a point where hiding them completely is no longer possible. Not because he wants to reveal them, but because genuine emotions have a way of revealing themselves, no matter how hard one tries to keep them contained. The reality behind the fairy tale. Of course, reality is far more complicated than any love story fans imagine. Both Alden and Maine have grown individually, pursuing their own paths and commitments. Life moved forward, as it always does. But feelings don't always follow timelines. They don't disappear simply because circumstances change. If anything, time often clarifies what truly matters and what lingers. A love that lives beyond labels. Perhaps what makes this connection so captivating is that it doesn't fit neatly into a box. It's not a confirmed romance, yet it doesn't feel purely fictional either. It exists in a space that's deeply human, where affection, respect, and unspoken emotions intertwine. For fans, it's more than just a love team. It's a story of what-ifs, of timing, of emotions that may never be fully expressed, but are deeply felt. The unwritten chapter. Whether Alden will ever openly acknowledge what many believe is in his heart remains uncertain. Maybe he never will. Maybe he doesn't need to. Because sometimes love doesn't need grand declarations. Sometimes it's found in the quiet moments, the looks, the pauses, the things left unsaid. And in those moments, it becomes clear some feelings are simply too real to hide forever. The weight of what could have been. As the years pass, the story of Alden Richards and Maine Mendoza seems to evolve into something even more complex. No longer just about what is, but about what could have been. And sometimes that's the kind of story that lingers the longest. There are moments when fate feels almost within reach, yet somehow remains just out of grasp. For many who have followed their journey, it's hard not to wonder if timing played the biggest role in keeping their paths from fully aligning. Because love, no matter how genuine, often bows to reality. And reality, as we know, is rarely simple. A glance that says everything observers, especially longtime fans, often point to the smallest interactions as proof that something deeper remains. A shared stage, a brief reunion, a casual mention in an interview. In those fleeting seconds, emotions seem to resurface as if no time has passed at all. Alden, in particular, has been seen struggling to maintain the same emotional distance he tries so carefully to uphold. There's a certain softness in his eyes, a hesitation in his words, as though he's constantly balancing between what he feels and what he chooses to show. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, but it's there. And sometimes that's more convincing than any public confession. Respect over desire. If there's one thing that defines Alden's approach, it's restraint. Not because he lacks courage, but because he understands boundaries. In a world that often celebrates bold declarations, choosing silence can be the harder, more meaningful path. Maine has built her own life, her own happiness, and her own direction. And Alden, despite whatever he may feel, has consistently shown respect for that. That alone speaks volumes about the kind of love many believe he carries, one that prioritizes the other person's peace over personal longing. It's not the kind of love that demands attention. It's the kind that quietly stays, even from a distance. Moving forward, yet holding on. Life doesn't pause for unanswered questions. Careers grow, opportunities come, and new chapters begin. Both Alden and Maine continue to thrive individually, proving that they are more than the pairing that once defined them. But moving forward doesn't always mean letting go. Sometimes it simply means learning how to carry certain feelings differently, less visible, more contained, but never entirely gone. For Alden, that might be the reality he has come to accept. Not a story unfinished, but a story that exists in a different form, one that doesn't need closure to remain meaningful. Why their story still resonates. In truth, what makes their connection unforgettable isn't just romance. It's relatability. Not everyone gets the perfect ending. Not every love story reaches its full expression. And yet, those incomplete stories often feel the most real. People see themselves in it, the missed chances, the quiet sacrifices, the emotions that stay hidden for the sake of something greater. And maybe that's why, even now, the story of Alden and Maine continues to spark conversations, emotions, and endless curiosity. Because deep down, everyone understands what it means to feel something and not be able to fully show it. The truth that doesn't need confirmation. At the end of it all, there may never be a clear answer, no dramatic reveal, no definitive statement, but perhaps there doesn't need to be one. Because sometimes the most powerful truths are the ones that don't need to be spoken aloud. They exist in the way someone looks at another person, in the care they continue to show, and in the emotions that refuse to fade, no matter how much time passes. And if that's the case, then maybe the real story isn't about whether Alden can still hide his feelings. Maybe it's about the fact that he doesn't have to say anything at all, for people to already see it.